It's time for another season of The Palmetto Porch, an original podcast from Discover South Carolina. I'm Devin Whitmire. Join me as I get to the heart of what makes South Carolina such a great place to visit by speaking to the locals who make it so special. Premiering December 5th, find The Palmetto Porch wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information about our show, visit scpalmettoporch.com.
It's time to get up and get going, South Coast. It's time for the Tim Weisberg Show on WBSM. Also streaming live on WBSM.com and on the WBSM app. Talk to Tim now at 508-996-0500 or send him a message or a voicemail through the WBSM app. And now, ready to start your day off with a bang. It's Tim Weisberg.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of the program here on Wednesday morning. And if you're looking at the calendar and saying to yourself, oh, February 28th, it's the last day of the month. Well, it's not. This is a leap year. So tomorrow is February 29th. We get an extra day. And for you leap year babies, congratulations. You actually get a real birthday this year. And I think, I've got a friend who actually worked here with us a little bit, Kate Ford. Tomorrow's going to be her birthday, so happy birthday, Kate. You actually might know her. She was a contestant on The Voice years ago. But, yeah, it's for those people who only get to have an actual birthday every 4 years. Celebrate, have a good time. I can't stand when people make a big deal of their birthday, but leap year babies deserve it. Like, okay, let me clarify. It's okay to want to do something fun for your birthday. It's okay to want to maybe go on a trip for your birthday or, do something special or whatever. Like, that's fine. I choose not to make a big deal out of my birthday. I don't think it's a big deal. And, of course, there's always those milestone birthdays that are a big deal. Turning 18, turning 21, turning 40, turning 50, whatever. But somehow we have reached the point now where people we went to people having birthday weeks. It's my birthday week. No, it's not. No, your birthday's only one day. Actually, I think first started with, it's my birthday weekend. Oh, okay, I can give you that. It's your birthday weekend. You're going to spend one day with your family, one day with your friends, or maybe you can do a couple different things. That's cool. I can understand that. Your birthday was on Tuesday, but sure, have a birthday weekend. Sure, that's fine. But then that turned into the birthday week. All right, well, maybe you want to spend time with a few different people for your birthday, and not everybody can get together at the same time. So, yeah, I guess you can have a birthday week. But now we've gotten to the point where people have birthday months. Come on. You are not that special that we should be spending 30 or 31 or 28 or 29 days just celebrating you. Birthday month is not a thing. And when people post on social media, oh, it's my birthday month. Like on Friday when it becomes March 1st, there'll be people that'll post, oh, it's my birthday month. Your birthday is March 30th. We don't need to start celebrating you now. And really what they're saying when they say, oh, it's my birthday month, is I want you to ask me when my birthday is so that I can tell you so that you feel obligated to either give me something or take me somewhere, or at the very least just send me a happy birthday on my birthday, which, nothing wrong with that. But it just, to me, it reeks of attention seeking. You have a birthday. Now, to be fair, I was always, for the last few years, like a week or two before my birthday, I would put up, hey, my birthday is coming up. And here, I'd put on Facebook, here's my fundraiser for the Wareham Historical Society. I did it every year for the past few years. I couldn't do it this year because something happened with their account where they're no longer listed amongst the nonprofits on Facebook, so I couldn't tie in a fundraiser to it. And I didn't want to do it for somebody else because when they get that fixed, I'm going to make that my birthday fundraiser again. So I didn't want to go start up with another organization and then have that taken away and say, sorry, I'm going back to the Wareham Historical Society. I mean, not that I'm raising tens of thousands of dollars for them, but it's a couple $100 in the bank from the generous people that want to donate to that. And I'm a big believer in historical societies. I think they all do great work, but they're all struggling these days for membership. So I do it even more for awareness than for the money that's raised. Because a lot of the people that I know in the paranormal world are into history, and maybe some of them who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s will join these historical societies. And then they'll have enough members for a quorum, which is something that some of these historical societies struggle with. But anyway, long story short, you get a birthday. You don't get a birthday month. 508-996-0500. Good morning. You're next on WBSM.
Good morning, Tim. Gilly Safiolis.
How you doing, Gilly?
Let me ask you a question, Tim. Has Leo Chiquette ever been on your program?
No, I have not had him on because, generally when he comes in, he's on with Chris. And then he has the whole, hour to be able to speak to people. But
no, that I understand. Why I called in is yesterday I was listening to, I just want to clarify, maybe I heard it wrong. Yesterday on Chris's program, a young lady that you know good and Tim knows her good, and I mean the Chris and everybody at your station, Skittle or Skitter, whatever.
Sketty, yep, Sketty.
Yeah, she called in yesterday, and she made some statements which I had a hard time, making that out on the radio because it was, she was talking fast in the first place, and she made some statements about Leo that he was on your program, and he made some stuff about the airport.
Right. And so what happened was I actually was contacted about that, and I was able to email Sketty and kind of give her the information. So what had happened was she had confused and conflated my show with Chris's show because she listens on podcasts a lot, so she's not really sure, she's consuming it kind of a lot at one time. And so she got a little bit confused. So what had happened is he had gone on Chris's show, and they very briefly had mentioned the airport. And Leo had mentioned that he thinks that the best thing to do would be to rebuild the terminal, from scratch to be able to attract larger airports in here. And that's all that he really said about it. But that was the reference. So what I did is I emailed Sketty and I gave her all that information. And I also gave her Leo's contact number at his request so that she could actually call him and they could discuss it.
Okay, that's why. See, because I was like skeptical. I said, because I follow you guys. You know that I follow the politics.
Yes.
And what happened? I'm trying to listen to her, and I think she's a hell of a woman. And I'm saying, why is she saying about, like in a roundabout way? I got her like she was like knocking him down. That he made statements because he is new. He might make a few mistakes, but. When she said she was on your program, he was on your program, and I said, Jesus, I never remember Leo being on his program. So I just wanted to, straighten that out with everybody out there because I'm sure I'm not the only one that misunderstood him.
Well, I think the worst part about that is now Chris has to deal with the insult of being mistaken for me.
Well, I think you're both good guys, you know what I mean?
Well, thank you for that. But I think, it was just a misunderstanding. And Sketty knows she listens, when she's listening, she's doing a million different things. So she knows sometimes she might be mistaken.
Well, I just didn't want people to overlook it. You know what I mean? Every time I do something wrong, everybody's jumping all over me. So I figured, let's straighten everything out before. Like a lot of people call in and they'll say, Tim, I heard this. Can you check on it? Well, whoever calls in on your programs or all the programs on the radio, why don't they do the check-in before they call up and put rumors on the radio? That's all. But I just want to straighten it out. I just didn't understand where she was coming on. He was against airport and all that, because it sounded like he really put a knife in his back without getting, all the facts.
Well, I think now that she's got his number, the two of them can talk and she can get all the information and know everything about his stance on it.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Tim.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
And I will say this too. I agree with Ward 1 Councilor Leo Chiquette on that. That, you do need to upgrade that terminal. And they are. There's a plan to do that. But, yeah, and I've seen that plan. And the terminal looks beautiful that they would like to build there. And I think it will attract more, not only airlines, but it'll attract some new businesses to be in the terminal. But, it's funny because as we're talking about this, there was a story the other day that Spirit Airlines is pulling out of the Manchester airport. And Manchester is trying to draw in more airlines. They're trying to become more of an alternative to Logan for people. Kind of the way, like down our way, we would use TF Green as an alternative to Logan. Why go to Boston? And do you know why I try to go to Providence for everything? First of all, it helps that I usually am not paying for my flight for things. I'm getting booked for different events and, the travel is covered by somebody else. So if there is a price difference, I don't realize it. But when I go and I price tickets for myself for personal travel, I don't see a whole heck of a lot of difference in the tickets between flying out of Providence and flying out of Boston. What I see a difference in is the availability of flights. There's not as many. But I don't really see a big price difference. So a lot of folks will choose going to Providence just based on the ease of getting there. Now, that may be different with the Washington Bridge debacle, but like, for example, I just got booked again to be in Michigan this August for the Michigan Paracon. And I said, they asked me, there's a form you fill out every year with all of your information for them to book your flight, and they ask you preferred airport. And I say I'm equidistant between Providence and Boston, but I do prefer Providence if possible. Now, it's going to be Boston that I fly out of because that just has more options for flying to Detroit than Providence does. But maybe, if they get something at the right time, we can make it Providence. But you know why I prefer Providence? Not only the ease of getting there, but if I go to Boston, I'm paying $50 a day to park. And I'm gone for 4 or 5 days. If I go to Providence, I'm paying $50 to park for those 4 or 5 days total. Because, I park in the long-term lot, and there's always coupons that you can use. So, it's a lot cheaper. Anyway, the Manchester airport, Spirit Airlines is pulling out of there. I guess they're not getting enough bookings out of there to make it worthwhile. If New Bedford was to get more airlines in here, would you want Spirit to be one of those airlines? Because, they have that reputation. Now, I've flown Spirit a few times. I didn't find it to be, this horrendous experience like everybody else has with it. Didn't love the fact that I was, charged for bags. I didn't book that flight either. And then I showed up and I'm like, okay, I've got one bag to check. And they're like, okay, you've got to pay for that. Well, what? And then you have to go through the process of getting reimbursed for it and everything, but whatever. For just basically the smallest travel suitcase you can have. Only because the overhead I was already using for equipment I was bringing. But I didn't find it to be, it's definitely no frills, but it wasn't horrendous. And I think that would be an airline that could come in and do great business here because it's more affordable than other airlines. And people in this area are probably not the most likely to get on a Delta flight or a United flight and buy a first class ticket and go through all of that. No, or JetBlue or any of that. No, they're blue collar people. Give them a blue collar airline. But again, we've got to get to that point of the terminal being larger and the runways being extended and all the things that come with wanting to have larger airlines come into the New Bedford airport. 508-996-0500 if you want to call in and chime in. And you can send those app chat messages and open line voicemails on the WBSM app. I do want to let you know, too, I've been trying to remember to tell you about this every day. But if I forget, just bookmark seizethedeal.com on your browser, whether it be on your phone or on your computer, because all this week, Jackson from Fun 107 is going out to different restaurants around the South Coast in the afternoon, and that means all those restaurants will have a special Seize the Deal that goes on sale. Now, of course, Jackson's on Fun 107, but the deal is still available to all of us over here at WBSM. So right now, you can get $50 in gift certificates to Lolly's Cafe for just $25. And Lolly's is very affordable, very good. $50 will go a long way at Lolly's, and you can get that certificate for $25. You can also get, right now, $50 in gift certificates to Yozakura Sushi, which has just moved from the south end of New Bedford over to Acushnet. And Yozakura Sushi is phenomenal. This is like real, handmade, the love and dedication going into it. Sushi with authentic Japanese cooking. $40 in gift certificates to Duke's Cafe and Duke's Bakery and Cafe in Fall River, the gluten-free, where everything is gluten-free, for $20. You can get $50 to the Vault Music Hall and Pub in New Bedford for $25. $30 to Flower Girls Baking Company right across the street here in Fairhaven for $15. Dough Company in New Bedford, $50 for $25. Just Another Phoenix. Of course, that's one of my favorites. $50 in certificates for just $25. And coming up this week, tonight, 7 p.m., $50 in gift certificates to Scotty's Pub in Fall River for $25. Tomorrow, $50 in gift certificates to Brazilian Grill for $25. That's coming up too. So you want to make sure that you get on seizethedeal.com every day and check out all of those great deals. And if you get to the website and you don't see the deals for all the local places, you just got to hit that little geographic target thing up at the top and change it to New Bedford. Sometimes that happens depending on, what your browser IP address is and all that stuff. But there's a lot of fantastic deals waiting there for you. Got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. Got my mind set on you. But it's gonna take money. A whole lot of spending money. It's gonna take plenty of money to do it right, child. It's gonna take time.
All right, welcome back in. 508-996-0500. Let's go out to Las Vegas. Good morning, Lamone. How are you?
What's shaking, Playboy?
How you doing?
So, pretty good. So have you talked to Matt? Did you call him?
I haven't spoken with him yet, no.
What a geek. You need to call our friend. I think we need to check up on him.
Listen, Moniz and I have a very, we communicate by not communicating.
Okay, if you say so. All right, so what is your favorite Beatles, solo Beatles song? If you could give me your top 5 after Beatles songs.
Well, I can tell you my favorite, No More Lonely Nights by Paul McCartney.
That's a good song. I remember that from like 82, 83, like that.
Yeah, and Got My Mind Set on You is probably one of them.
Okay.
My Sweet Lord.
That's like my number one and that's probably my number 2 song of all of the former Beatles, yeah.
Probably, I'm trying to think of what my favorite Lennon song is. Probably Imagine.
I think my first one will be Coming Up by Paul McCartney.
That's a good one, yeah.
And then I'm thinking, like I did say, after, could that be considered The Girl Is Mine, or Say
Say is Paul's song. The Girl Is Mine is Michael's, but Say is definitely up there on the list.
But they're both Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney singing.
Yes, yeah.
Or more, even this. I think this is even better. Ebony and Ivory.
Yep, that's a good one too.
Yeah, I like singing that song. Me and you need to sing that song when you come to Vegas. So did you get to pass the thing on Scatty for me? Everybody's talking about my girl.
She was listening yesterday. She heard it.
Okay, so I didn't. So that's good. I'm glad. So something I was going to tell you. Okay, like how a lot of times when you're older and you're cursing in front of a child or whatever, you might spell out the words, or if you want to say a curse word, if you spell it out, it keeps you from being as angry. Like I would say, like MOTHERFUL.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's something that could be considered. Teaching people, and it's a lot of times you see kids like, I know what that word means. I can tell by the way they use what certain letters, and that's kind of interesting also. But yeah, there's something else I want to say, but I totally forgot what it is. I've got a clip that I was going to look at. It's like maybe 57 seconds of a video, but you'll see there's something with the moon, and it, to me, kind of looks like if you know the Spectre, right, from DC Comics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He kind of looks like the Spectre with there, but it's an actual something there sitting next to the moon. It's a stasis there, and it looks really scary. Did I send that to you?
No, but is it on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, if you go there and see my clips, go to my clips. It's like the first clip, the new clip that I've got up. I just not even a couple of days old. I think you might want to look at that. And there's like the whole video is like maybe 29 minutes. It's 57 seconds where I got the clip. That's off there. You just go to it, and it'll play that 57 seconds, and it'll show you a good close-up on it and things like that, and give you something to look at. What you think about that?
I will check it out.
You haven't decided anything this weekend live?
No, not this weekend, I don't think.
Have you even talked about anything? I figured after in the Black History Week month, you'll come up with some better coming up then, never have too many spooks going around running around.
Nah, all right. I got to hold you there, Lamone. It's time to go into the newsroom.
Oh, well, I didn't want to speak either way. So where's Adam at?
He's working life.
That's good. It's always good to see people working if they're able to work. All right, I'll call you tomorrow. I've got something to share with you tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow might be the day. So look to the skies.
All right. You have a good day.
Have a good night. Good night, everybody. Or good morning.
All right, take it easy. That's Lamone's going to bed now. That's why he says good night. All right, we do have to go into the newsroom now and get all the headlines of the day from Phil Devitt. We can get your reactions on the other side, 508-996-0500. And then coming up in the next hour, we will talk with Matthew Hamachek, the director and executive producer of The Dynasty, New England Patriots, airing now on Apple TV+. But right now, take it away, Phil.
Now, the biggest stories on the South Coast from the WBSM Newsroom. This is WBSM News.
Donald Trump ran away with a win over Nikki Haley in Michigan's closely watched Republican primary Tuesday after winning in her home state of South Carolina last week, along with every other GOP contest so far. President Biden, meanwhile, won the Michigan Democratic primary. The Supreme Court will hear arguments today on whether the federal government can ban bump stocks, devices that let semi-automatic weapons fire more like an automatic weapon. The case stems from a bipartisan effort to ban the devices after one was used in a deadly 2017 shooting at a Las Vegas music festival. Russia says conflict will be inevitable if the West joins forces with Ukraine in the ongoing war. On Tuesday, a Kremlin spokesperson said if Western countries put troops on the ground in Ukraine, it would lead to increased conflict. The spokesperson said foreign leaders must consider what corresponds to their interests as well as the interests of the citizens of their countries. The nation's biggest nuclear weapons facility is being threatened by a fast-moving wildfire in the Texas Panhandle. The Pantex plant is about 17 miles northeast of Amarillo, not far from the Smokehouse Creek fire, which grew from 40,000 acres to 200,000 acres in just 6 hours on Tuesday and is burning out of control. Officials posted on X Tuesday that personnel at the plant were building a fire barrier to protect the facilities and that all nuclear weapons on site were safe and unaffected. San Francisco is apologizing to the city's black population for years of discrimination. The apology is just one of more than 100 recommendations from a reparations advisory committee. Apple is canceling its electric car project. That's according to Bloomberg, which cited people with knowledge of the matter. Apple had been working on the electric car project for a decade. Bloomberg says executives told project workers that many of them will be moved to the company's artificial intelligence division. And Netflix may raise prices again this year. That's according to analysts at UBS Securities. Analysts wrote in a research note they expect to see a price hike from the streaming giant. Time now for WBSM Sports, brought to you by Sparks Auto in Dartmouth. The Celtics beat the Philadelphia 76ers last night, 117-99. They're at TD Garden to play the Dallas Mavericks on Friday. Spring training continues for the Red Sox today. They play the Washington Nationals at 1, and the Boston Bruins play the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday. Now let's check your forecast with ABC6.
We're going to see rain showers today. Will be locally heavy at times, patchy fog, and it's going to be very windy today. Look for a high of 57. For tonight, rain showers possibly mixing over to snow showers around 3 a.m. Little to no accumulation is expected, and temperatures will crash into the 20s. Meanwhile, Thursday, mostly sunny and breezy with a high of 36. From the ABC6 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kelly Bates on New Bedford's News Talk Station 1420 WBSM.
I'm Phil Devitt for WBSM News. Stay up to date with New Bedford's News Talk Station, WBSM, and get all of our content and breaking news alerts with the WBSM app.
You see it all around you. Good loving gone bad. And usually it's too late when you realize what you had. And my mind goes back to a girl I met 12 years ago who told me just hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're gonna lose control. Your baby needs someone to believe in, and a whole lot of space to breathe in. So
And welcome back in 508-996-0500. Little 38 special there. And Hold On Loosely is such a great song. I think, was that the one? Or I can't remember. There was a 38 special song that was in one of the Guitar Hero games. So much fun to play. I'll never forget too, speaking of the Beatles, which we were a little bit earlier, when Beatles Rock Band came out. It was 9909. It was my son's first day of kindergarten. I stayed home from work, much to the chagrin of my boss. He did not like that I stayed home that day. Back in my diner days, I wasn't allowed to take days off. But I took the day off because I knew my ex-wife was going to have problems with, separating after Adam had been home his whole life. So he was fine. He couldn't wait to go to school. But, she was so sad. Oh, our little boy's growing up, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to stay home and, take her out to lunch, take her mind off of it, all that kind of stuff. And that was also the same day that Beatles Rock Band came out. So we went down to GameStop in Wareham and picked up a copy of it, went home and we played it. After we had lunch, we went home and we played it until Adam came home. And then he joined in playing. But that was so much fun because you had, you could play the guitar, the drums, somebody could sing. You could have multiple people sing. Those were the days. Now, video games have changed so much, you can throw in a VR headset and actually probably be a Beatle on stage. You can probably play the Cavern Club in Shea Stadium and then be in the Apple Studios recording Sgt. Pepper. But it was certainly it was a great, and that was also the day that they released all the, every Beatles album came out in stereo that day and in mono, and they released them all digitally. So you got to dive back into all that. It was really fun. And now look at it. It's almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So we got a Nap Chat message from Not Bad in Oak Bluffs going back to what we were talking about when it came to San Francisco considering reparations and an apology for slavery. He says, on April 16th, 1862, Abraham Lincoln signed a bill emancipating enslaved people in Washington, the end of a long struggle. But to ease the slave owners' pain, the District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union up to $300 for every enslaved person freed. He says, that's right. Slave owners got reparations. Enslaved African Americans got nothing for their generations of stolen bodies, snatched children, and expropriated labor. But they, hold on, it refreshed. Other than their mere release from legal bondage. I just wanted to add that bit of information to the conversation. So I get it, but that was also too, I mean, you're right. They should have given money to those slaves, former slaves. But I don't know that, 150 years later, 40, 60, 160 years later, that they need to be paying out people who don't even have a claim, direct descendant claim, some of that. In some cases when they're talking about making reparations, they're asking for a genealogical proof. In other cases, they're just saying anyone who shares this history. So, I don't know. Like I said, the apologies and the proclamations I understand and agree with. But when you start to get into payments, it just seems difficult to track. And in some cases, it seems like it could be trite. And I know it seemed trite on my part to compare reparations for slavery with the $5 that AT&T is giving people for that lack of service. But think about how aggravated you are if you're an AT&T customer, and that's their attempt to make amends. That's how some people who have slavery in their ancestry would look at whatever payment is made in terms of trying to compare it to what was taken. 508-996-0500 if you want to call in and get involved in the conversation. Interesting story I saw on WPRI this morning. There was a fire at one of the Newport mansions, the Carey Mansion. A fire broke out at the property early this morning. Actually, just after midnight this morning. And while the fire crews were able to quickly knock it down, and there was no real visible damage outside, there is a criminal investigation now underway. So it'd be interesting to find out if there was any criminal activity involved in this. I mean, I'm sure that's part of the process. Hey, we have a suspicious fire. We have to find out if, we don't know what the cause of this fire was. We have to find out if there is, if there's anything nefarious involved in this. But the Carey Mansion is, it's also known as Seaview Terrace, for those of you who are unfamiliar, and it's considered haunted. It was also the exterior for the show Dark Shadows. So this was where they would film the outside to look like Collinwood Manor. They would film the outside of Seaview Terrace and use that. And that turned into the whole, if you remember a few years ago, I wrote the article about, did Barnabas Collins get his name because he was inspired by a person that lived in Dartmouth, or a grave that was in Dartmouth? Still, I thought I'd solved the question, but there's still so much more discussion out there about it. But the idea of that mansion being tied into Dark Shadows is what kind of helps keep that alive. I think Seaview Terrace was up for sale recently. I don't know if it's been sold. But one of the things that I always thought was very interesting about its history was it was originally built in Washington, D.C. and then moved up to Newport. Which is insane when you look at it to think about that. Like somebody moved that whole mansion. One of these days, I'm going to take a day and go do the mansion tours. I haven't done it since high school. We went on a field trip when I was in high school. And we went to Rosecliff. And I can't remember if we had been there right before or right after True Lies had been there filming. But there's so many things that have been filmed in those Newport mansions. And sometimes you might not even realize it. Sometimes it's interior shots. Sometimes it's exterior. And I don't know how somebody could have set a fire in that mansion without anybody know how they get in there. But we'll see what this investigation pans out. Hopefully it turns out to have just been something mundane or at least something that's not criminal. And either way, glad that they were able to knock that fire down before it could do any damage to a very historic and very beautiful property. I think it was built in 1907. If I have my ghost history right. 508-996-0500. I've got to take a break. We'll be back in a few moments. That's a fun video, too. Not only is that a fun song, but it's a fun video, too. In that video, Paul McCartney plays a bunch of different people from musical history. Buddy Holly, and even his own self from the early 60s. I mean, it's really well done. But people always would question for years, like, why is Paul McCartney dressed up as Hitler in that song? With the little pencil mustache. I mean, not pencil mustache, little toothbrush mustache, and he's staring into the camera weirdly, like why is he dressed like Hitler? But he wasn't dressed like Hitler. The problem is he was dressed as somebody that not a lot of folks knew about. He was dressed as Ron Mael from Sparks. But people don't know Sparks, so they don't know Ron Mael, so they don't realize that that's who Paul McCartney was dressed as there. Sparks is a band that, although the general public might not know them that well, other musical acts know them very well. And they're kind of like the musicians type of situation. That's why I try to play them here on the morning show so that you can hear them and learn some of their great stuff. It's always kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek stuff and just off-the-wall lyrics and all different types of styles. You've probably heard This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. That's the song that they used in the Apple commercial a few years ago. In fact, I was watching some stuff in my DVR that have been sitting in there for quite a while. As I mentioned before, I had Simpsons episodes and they're going back to 2021. And some other shows going back to 2021. So I was trying to clear all that out as I was sitting at home recovering from surgery, and I saw the commercial for I think it was for an iPad with the Spark song, and I said, "Oh, they brought this commercial back," and then I realized, "Oh no, wait a minute, you're watching something that's 3 years old at this point." Anyway, 508-996-0500 coming up in the next hour. Right after the 8 o'clock news, we will talk with Matthew Hamachek, the director and executive producer of The Dynasty. It's the new docuseries, 10-part docuseries on Apple TV Plus about the New England Patriots. Very, very interesting interviews, discussions with people associated with the franchise and people that have been around the franchise. People like Rupert Murdoch, Roger Goodell. You see them pop up and you say, I can't imagine that they would have those folks in this documentary. How they get that interview. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Matthew in that discussion. But I do have to take one more break here. I see Lamone's calling back in. Let's Lamone, I got 1 minute before I got to take a break.
Okay, so I know Sparks. Yeah, their biggest song was like, "My Name Is Mickey Mouse." I have a house in Disneyland, California. That's their biggest one. And also, you want to look at "Hey Ya" by the Outkast. They did. That's the Andre 3000. That's what he was doing. Paul McCartney's version.
His kind of take on that, playing all the characters in the band. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to the song. I said, too bad you didn't let it keep playing through the commercial and everything. But that's all right, though.
You know who my favorite member was of that Hey Ya band? Johnny Vulture.
Boy.
No, Johnny Vulture.
Oh, well, that's cool.
All the characters that Andre 3000 played. Johnny Vulture. That was my guy.
I know that was especially. I like him in Miss Jackson too. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Well, I'm for real.
And I'm for real. I got to take this break. So thank you for the call, and you have a good day.
Thanks for answering. Bye-bye.
All right. We do got to take this break. We'll be back in just a few moments. All right. We are about to go into the newsroom. It is wet and it is windy out there. So if you are heading out, just be aware of that. Although it looks like the wind is calming down. Oh, no. Here comes a big gust right as I say that. So just be aware of that. It's one of those days where you're going to want to have the rain jacket and the